So, Betty, you know how I'm very skeptical about Christian movies, at least the ones I'm not in.
Of course. You had to
Yeah.
get that in.
So I got invited to see the movie Journey to Bethlehem, which is a musical about the birth of Christ. So right there, flags go up. I know, right? That's what I thought. But then I started thinking, they turned the story of Alexander Hamilton into a hit musical. So why not the story of Jesus? It should be better, right?
Yeah.
So I go to the premiere of Journey to Bethlehem, and I have to tell you, at first I was like, when they started off singing right out of the gate, I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. And I really, as I leaned into it and went with it, I'm like, man, this is actually really good. I really enjoyed it. If you loved High School Musical, Camp Rock, Glee, you will love it because the guy that did a lot of the music for those shows is the guy that produced this.
Oh,
He
we're
actually-
all in this together.
We'll be singing the songs from Journey to Bethlehem like that, too. The movie stars Antonio Banderas as Pontius Pilate, and I got to tell you, Joel Smallbone plays his son, and he holds his own with him scene for scene. He was amazing.
I wonder why they didn't ask you to be in it.
I don't know. Maybe because we're all in this together. That's why. Now I see it.
That's good.
So if you want to check out the movie or learn more about it, it's journeytobethlehemmovie.com. Welcome to the Wallace Show Aftercast, all the stuff we did not get to during the course of the show today. Betty Rock is out today. We went to a work seminar kind of thing with our entire company in Houston, and that's why we were gone for the last couple days. And we got to meet with other jocks at other stations that we work with and other people that we work with that just know through emails. And so it's a time of building connections with people, you know, because we kind of had this merger. I don't know if you even know this, but we had this merger between this one big station in Houston, which was like a legendary station, and then our Way FM, and then we have like a Spanish network now and some online stuff like InGen, which is like pop and hip hop, and then we've got Way Loud, which is rock, and then Way FM, and so it's a multitude of brands, and so we're all under the same family now of Hope Media, and so every year, they just started it last year, and so each year they try to bring everybody out. And this year they did like some speakers to try and help you be better at your jobs, blah blah blah. But I don't mind these things. Like it was fun. Like it was good to talk with people that I don't get to see all the time. And I didn't see Gavin much. Gavin got there, and I don't know if our paths just didn't cross, or if you carved out your own little niche with other people that were younger and kind of in your do what you do kind of thing.
Well, I was trying to connect with, the handful of people that I just, never get to see.
Right.
I feel like I don't always do a great job of just simply knowing the people that are in our company. And
Right.
I think, I know everyone in this building. I can, say them by name. I can ask them questions about their life. But a lot of people, even within the Way FM legacy side of things, like people who were part of Way FM before we made this switch, I still don't know a lot of the people that work at all of our other different stations and other places within the company. So, I'm even getting to know people that are in the Way FM markets, getting to know people on the KSBJ side.
Right.
And you're right. Like, I sat at a couple different tables. Like, I think I only knew one person at the table that I was sitting at.
Oh, that's good. That's actually good.
So, I try to put myself in scenarios where I'm ending up talking to people. And there are a couple people on the KSBJ side that, I just really like and connect with. So I'm like, okay, I'll try to spend as much time with them as I can, because I'm not going to travel out to Houston more than once a year at this point.
Well, like last year, they gave everybody a candy bar, and you sat with people that had that same candy bar. And so the design was to get you to know different people. And so this year, I think they were like, you know what, you've met people, and people sit where you want to sit. Like I walked into that first meeting a little bit later than other people, and so I was looking for a table. It was like high school all over again. Like, oh no, and I'm just like, I don't see Betty anywhere. I didn't see you. I'm like, oh man, and then because I didn't want it, because I knew I was gonna be at that table like all day.
I know,
and I didn't want to get stuck at a bad table. Let's be honest.
It was like a 12-hour commitment at that point.
Because like there are people that work here that are very different. We work in an industry that is very diverse as far as people's personalities, and you have some people that are just completely introverted. You have some people that are super uber religious, and some people that aren't, and so like I didn't want to get stuck at a table where I would be offensive to people inadvertently or
just awkward.
Wouldn't click. They don't get my sense of humor.
Yeah, you shouldn't be expected to connect with every last person in your company in a way that just like gives you joy and makes everyone happy. Like you should, and especially because they gave you the option of choice.
Yeah,
you should be able to choose the table that you're going to have the best time at over a long day. It was a long day.
It was a long day. I was walking around looking, and I thank God I saw Betty Rock. I saw the back of her puffed up hair. I'm like, oh, there she is, and there was a seat next to her, and so I
Sprinting.
bolted, and then it turned out I was like one table in front of you.
Yes.
I look back, I'm like, oh, there's Gavin. You should have come sat with us.
I thought about it, but again, I like to connect with a couple of the people that I had at my table. My favorite / most maybe second most jealous-inducing moment of the day was looking over at your table, though, because they had coffee available for everybody at this thing, and there was good coffee. I liked it. I'm not too picky, but then I see Betty passing around this Starbucks order to everybody at the table, and there's this little part of me that's like, hey guys, can I please?
And I didn't get in on it.
I saw that.
So what happened was there's a girl in our digital department, and so she was like, they didn't have coffee that she likes. She's like, I'm door dashing coffee. And so they hand the phone around, and I'm trying to find something from Starbucks that I would like. I'm not a giant fan of Starbucks anymore, and I'm trying to figure out if it's worth
the base layer, the actual coffee is not good.
And then I'm like, my order has all these specific, and I finally was like, don't worry about it. And so I passed on it.
And you're not going to do your own individual DoorDash for Dunkin'.
No, I thought about it, but then I'm like, no, it's fine. So their order comes. I'm like, I'm bummed. But that was really that was heads up of her, to do that. So then we get to lunch, though.
This is great.
Lunch was a defining moment for me. Lunch was a turning moment. So the food was not food. I'm really picky, and the food was not food that I like. I don't like a lot of Mexican food anyway, and we had the day before we had Mexican food, and then the next day we had some version of it, and then
we had a lot of tortillas.
Yeah, we had a lot of tortillas.
It was breakfast tacos, wraps at lunch, which again, wraps and salads, and then it's just so much.
Yeah, and so I did not do the I just was and I wasn't a jerk about it. I'm like, okay, there's just nothing. I just don't like any of this, and there's never soda. So I found a vending machine, which was good.
So good.
It's all, but anyway, so they did a nice job catering, and a lot of people liked it. So, but I learned from the girl, the DoorDash girl from our digital department. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go, there's a gas station, a few hundred yards from here. I'm going to go to the gas station. So I'm planning on getting one of those hot dogs off the roller, and as I'm walking to the gas station, I see a standalone Burger King right next to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, so good. So I went to Burger King.
And you're not a Burger King stan per se. If it's a McDonald's, you always choose McDonald's.
Yeah.
But man, sometimes a Whopper is good.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're not in that mood for the fresh wraps.
Yeah. But because I asked everyone before I left, I said, does anybody want anything? And they're like, no, because at the time they just thought I was going to the gas station. And so then when I found this place, so I got the Whopper meal for me, but I brought back a large onion ring and 2 other cheeseburgers in case anyone else was in the same boat as me. And so a couple guys ate the cheeseburgers, and they all sent the onion rings around. We're like, oh, I'm so thankful for this.
Did Betty partake of an extra burger at one point? Oh, okay.
No, she ate my onion rings.
Oh, I love Burger King onion rings.
They're good.
I grew up on those. Those are outstanding.
Yeah, but it was just it was honestly, it was kind of as I was walking over there, I thought, I wonder if anyone's going to get mad that I'm not eating from here or think that you're a diva.
I think you're ungrateful
right,
for
exactly.
what's there.
But then I thought about it as I was walking. I'm like, who cares?
I'm an adult.
That's exactly. I'm a 55-year-old man. And if you're going to get bent about that, I don't want to be your friend anyway. And there's nothing. I didn't say, you have to change this. I didn't say, this food is horrible, I'm leaving. It was just like, okay, this is over here and it's this. I don't like it, so I'm going to go over here. I'm taking care. I'm taking care of myself. Don't have to worry about me. I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to complain a bit. It's kind of like when people if they're vegan and they want everyone to cater to them. It's like if I'm a vegan, I bring my own stuff. I'll bring my own stuff.
Absolutely.
Not a problem. I don't expect you to do everything to my liking. Just like at these events, I don't expect everything to be to my liking, so I'll just go change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
You're in control of your tummy.
Exactly.
You get to take care of all that. Yeah. It was a good time.
It was, but all in all, I think it was a good couple days, and I got some good time with our direct boss who's new. because I gave him a ride to the airport and stuff like that. And so we got to talk about like some support drive stuff and just programming stuff. And I thought it was that time to me, that's the valuable stuff.
Sure.
We did have one speaker. It was great. Like, her original way she started off was like ways to market to millennials. Like that's how she kind of started her career. And when I saw that in the flyer, I'm like, oh, please, no, I don't want it. And then I saw her take a selfie of herself before she went on stage, and I'm just like, this is everything I hate.
You're like this. You're already creating the narrative of
100%.
something you don't think you're going to enjoy or gain anything from.
Yes, I went into that completely jaded and completely. There's nothing you're going to tell me that I'm going to hear or want to learn from. But then I listened, and she started talking about the way that different generations perceive different scenarios, and that was more like interesting to me. But what's really funny though is because she's a millennial, but then she just went hardcore on the Gen Zs and just made fun of them so badly.
That was her shtick the whole time, to the point where I'm like, man, we're slamming kids right now. There's probably like 10 Gen Zers in our company.
Yeah, but I'm at a table with 3 of them.
That's true.
And one of them is very angry, and like the whole time was super mad about it.
Was she really?
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Oh.
Was bothered, was physically like, nah. And
so funny.
She's very opinionated. What's really funny though is she's very similar to me. And I'm like, okay, I see me now.
I think though that at the end of the day, it is the right of any generation, I think, to lay down a little bit, lay the smack down on the younger generation, because
you guys will do it to the next one.
Exactly. It's just part of being a generational, and that was her thing, is that her whole message is trying to bridge generational gaps, because there are a lot of differences between you and between me.
Right.
I will always just submit and become what you want me to be.
Right.
I'm just learning.
And that's smart.
That's good. But in other scenarios, you do have people that have stronger. I don't have this crazy strong personality.
Right.
I know when it's time to be an employee,
right,
per se. But I think that, especially with another coming up generation, I think that they want to have a bigger voice even within companies. Like, I walk into a scenario and I don't necessarily think, oh, what I say doesn't go. But I think some people do want what they say to have an impact on what happens. And I think that you earn that in a good way.
For sure.
Not right off the bat. And I think that can be a thing that's hard to understand.
Well, the thing that I had to tell this one girl, I said, I get where you're coming from, and again, I even went to the CEO of our company, and I told him exactly that. I said I thought this was going to be horrible, and I said I really did enjoy it, and I got some stuff out of it, so thank you. But I remember telling the girl, I said, look, you can feel however you want to feel.
Yeah.
But the point that this lady is trying to make is that your feelings are not your feelings are perceived as negative from this other generation, because you're perceived as lazy and you don't want to work when you set these boundaries and stuff. So you have to figure out how to set those in a way that the generation above you that is running things will not perceive you negatively. And they need to also see that when you say this, it's not because you're an entitled brat, but because you see it this way, you know. And it was a really good thing for me to be reminded of that, you know. But like I was telling her, I'm like, look, you're still in an era where you're being controlled by Gen X, boomers, you know, and also even millennials to some degree. And so you have to figure out how to navigate that. And if you refuse to, you are going to spend a life very frustrated. Or you're going to work at some hippy-dippy company by yourself, and maybe it'll be successful, maybe it won't. And you'll all kumbaya and it'll be great. But those jobs are very rare.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, we work for a nonprofit, a Christian organization that I think has amazing values and treats people well and all of this. But at the end of the day, like, capitalism is stronger than your feelings. Like, you don't matter more than the dollar bill. And in like in a way, I don't mean that in a super jaded way. But if you're going to, again, if your feelings hurt a company, that company is just going to let you go right away. Like, that's just good business. And if you're bad business, then you're going to get out of there.
Yeah, this is where we've done a disservice to our kids, which is interesting because I'm trying to think. So my age group would have millennial kids right at the edge.
Yeah, you're like because you could be the age of my dad. You're only a little bit older than my dad, and I am the
edge of the millennial.
I am the last. I'm the youngest version of a millennial.
So really, the I'm trying to think. Then
what
the
is after you?
boomers?
You're Gen X or
I'm Gen X.
Okay, so then it was Gen X,
millennial. But really, boomers would have had the vast majority of millennials then. Younger boomers would have had the vast majority of millennials. And so really, the parents are the ones that bought the trophies.
Yeah,
the parents,
Betty's parents.
Right. The parents are the ones that would have wanted to make a lot better life for their kids. And so we blame that generation, but really, they didn't become that way in and of themselves in a vacuum. They were created by parents who maybe felt guilty about not always being there and wanted to have them have a better life and not, as much of the bootstraps, toughen yourself up, but wanted to help them a little bit. And then it got more out of control.
I feel like she did say that. I can't remember if it was her or somebody else who explained that, we didn't have participation trophies out of the, aura of laziness.
The kids didn't make that up.
They just made it for the sake of being encourage,ing and making sure that kids felt seen and all this, which is a great idea. But if you do,
so is communism on paper.
Amen.
But yeah, it's funny because they gave a scenario of, okay, a project is due. It comes out of the woodwork. All of a sudden, you need to get this project done. And you have to stay late to work on it tonight. It's due tomorrow, and it wasn't anybody's fault, but it was just, here you go, you have to get this done, Jenkins. And you have tickets to Taylor Swift. And the girl we were sitting at the table with was like, oh, no, I'd quit. If you make me stay, I quit. And I go, well, you'd have to quit before I fired you. And she's like, what? I know. I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know you even told me this earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't know that she felt
very passionate.
that strongly
very passionate
about this. And I mean, Swifties are Swifties.
But what happens, though, when somebody draws that line hardcore with me, this is what we do with our battles between right and left wing.
Yeah.
So I watched her, because we're supposed to be discussing this at the table. So she throws up that hardline stance. Well, I immediately throw up the equal and opposite hardline stance. And that's why we can't agree politically, because that's what people are doing. Yeah. And so then after a beat and after that, I said, okay, but here's what I realistically would do. I would tell you, if I'm your boss, I would say, look, I understand you have these plans, and I want to see you get there. We have to get this done. This is not an option, So how do we do this together? Let's work on it together. I'm going to stay late. You're going to stay late. Let's get it done. Tell me what I need to do to help you. And then you might miss a little bit of your pregame or your dinner, but we'll get you to the show, because I get that. But even that was like, I don't know. It's a work-life balance. I'm like, but that's not life.
Yeah. Well, and, I think you're right about that life is not supposed to be, like, for the most part, it's not about, especially in our salaried roles, it's not about, hey, I only work from, for us 5 to 1 or 5 to 2. Like, you obviously are one of the best examples of somebody who the younger generation would look at and like, his work life balance
they'd hate me.
They'd
so
out of whack.
Yeah,
how is he happy? How does this? But I'm
successful. That's how I'm happy.
I personally just don't. I don't think that my generation. And again, it's 100% not a blanket statement, because I don't think it's true. But I think that my generation's not going to place the same amount of. I don't think we place the same amount of our identity in our career.
And that's health. That actually is healthy.
And like I love my job. I love this show. Right. This is, I think, I hope I have a great future. This part of me thinks this could be the best thing I ever work for, because I think it's that good. I love it that much. But it is not something that I necessarily I don't put 12 hours a day into, in a sense that I feel like you do put I
put a bunch of time in when I'm at home.
Yeah.
But I like to lead by example, because I always don't like to ask you to do things, because there are times I have to be like, dude, you got to get it done, and I know it sucks, and I'm sorry, but the time limit is this, and we'll try to take other things off your plate.
Well, and that's something that we learned. You've always done a really good job of leading by example and by also understanding. Like, once people have, I think, worked hard to earn your trust. Correct. You work very hard to keep our areas safe as well. When Betty goes home and isn't a big work from home person, that's something that you really respect. I, on the other hand, you can call me at 6, and if something needs to be done, and if I'm at home and available, then I'll hop right on it. Absolutely. It's not a problem. But I don't think that a lot of other people love
But
that concept.
I also know what your job entails, and I know what it takes to do a video. I know how long it takes. People don't realize that because I used to cut all the videos, and so people don't realize that. Just knock this thing out real quick. Well, this one simple 1.5-minute video will probably take me 2 hours. Yeah, and so I try to be super sensitive to that and make sure that we're offsetting things so that you're not getting buried. But for me, my identity always came from my work. They flipped the script and they went, what if it is you need to be at your kid's first recital? So both were extreme examples. You paid $1,000 for Taylor Swift tickets, and that landed with the young people. And then the other one for the old people is, now it's about kids. And my answer was still the same. I'm going to stay and I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do the work. I'll find the compromise. I will get it done. And, I know there will be other recitals. And that is a horrible way to look at it. I get it. But half the time, I missed stuff from my kid. I did. I couldn't see everything because I still had to provide a life for them. Now, I got to a bunch of it. And I got better as she got older, where she would be more cognizant of it. But it was, and I try to do special things with her. But there are times, and I used to have to tell her, there are times work is going to come before your family.
Well, and just
you don't always want it to be, but it will.
And sometimes it's an outright scheduling thing too.
Right.
I mean, I grew up playing club soccer. That was my passion, my hobby, and that games for that were always on the weekend.
Right.
My dad, my mom, Air Force teacher, those schedules never had them really working on the weekends. My dad put a lot of work in the early days where he did the ABC shift schedule thing, but he got to the point where he had his Monday through Friday gig. And so
that's nice.
My parents came to just about every soccer game that I ever played, partially because they needed to drive me. And partially because I knew they always loved and cared about that kind of thing. But then I started playing high school soccer, and a lot of those games happened in the middle of the week, and you're still driving places. Then they couldn't take that off. They weren't going to drop work and make sure that they came to the game, because in my eyes, as a 15-year-old kid, and I think I'm remembering this right, but as a 15-year-old kid, I didn't perceive them not coming as
they don't love me.
unsupportive.
Right, exactly.
But I do get where kids at a younger age, you want to make sure that they have an initial burst of feeling like you're there for them. But also, again, like you said, it's not always life that you get to go to every last thing and be there for your kid every last recital or game.
Somebody should sell cardboard cutouts of parents that when they can't make it there, they just kind of put it in the stands and put it at a distance so the little kid, when they're playing soccer, goes, "Oh, my dad made it."
And then you collapse it and you're like, "Oh, he really had to get right out, but he loves
had to
you."
Go, said you're doing great, and then if your wife really loves you, she tells you a couple details,
Text
and you
all the
call
updates.
her
He
later.
scored. He did this.
Exactly. Hey, oh my gosh, that goal you scored was so great.
Now you mess with them if you say, "Yeah, he scored a goal," and then they go, "Hey, good goal today." He's, "Dad, I stunk today. What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
but I think it was all very good discussion. I didn't know that someone felt so strongly on the other end of the Taylor Swift conversation. That's so funny.
Well, because it was funny too, because they were asking for the tables to share something, and she was like, "I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something now. I'm going to say it." And I forget,
I remember.
I forget how she said it though. It was something about something is not my issue.
Well, yeah, it's what was it? It was not my single adult life is not
less valuable.
Yeah,
than your married life or whatever. Okay, I'm like, okay, there you go.
I do remember hearing that and being like, okay.
Betty has said something to that effect before, because there were times when Betty would be asked to come in and do something, not by me but by the station, and she just always equated that to, it's because I'm single and I have nothing going on. You call me.
Yeah.
She lives 5 minutes from the station.
Yeah,
it was more of a proximity thing, you know.
You're the
closest.
easiest person to solve that solution.
Right.
She's even said it about church a long time ago. I loved
one thing sure.
Jeff talked about one time where he was talking about, and for all those people, for your spouse, for this. For your roommates, where he kind of he did a good job of including the people that aren't
she told him that.
I know.
Yeah, she went to our pastor and was like, it'd be nice to be included. As you mentioned all these things, and she doesn't even go to our church anymore. To this day, He's still, when he's doing the laundry list of your wife, your husband, your roommate, always still works. And it landed with him, and he kept it going.
Yeah, I
which
love
is crazy.
that.
Yeah,
So, I think
but she's right. Single people at church get called on to do a lot of volunteering.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. Well, you know what? That's 23 minutes of our little thing here. I just had a dumb story about Southwest. It's not a big deal. We can save it for Monday. And I think that's going to do it for our Aftercast. We cannot get out of here without birthdays and weekend plans, though. Do you have birthdays?
I do have birthdays.
Okay.
It's always that thing that I kind of semi-forget that
Well,
I'm
you've had
doing.
your hands full today. Today was a very busy show, and I scheduled something that I normally only schedule when there's 3 of us, but then I'm like, I believe in Gavin. He can do it.
It was good.
Because it takes a lot of extra work to do it on the show. It was all the phone calls and the audio that we load in.
Okay, I think that I've got just one.
Okay.
There's some for Saturday, but we can hit those on Monday when Betty is back. Okay, let's see. So I have to remember how this is a shout out for Anderson from Mom, Dad, Anna, and Ava. They're wishing him a happy birthday. He's a loving little boy who loves spending time with family and loves the outdoors. He laughs at anything Wally says, and he has dyslexia. He wants people to. He wants us to sing the birthday song.
Oh,
Give
well,
him
we
a
don't
little-
have everybody here, but happy birthday from all of us to you. Wish it was our birthday so we could party too. Hey! I was at a restaurant the other day, and they were doing that cheer. That's where we got it, from one of the restaurants. And I just, without hesitation, I mean, it was. I'm sitting here eating, and I hear happy, and I start going happy birthday from all of us. I'm like, oh my goodness. I think it was Chili's, from your Chili's crew. That was it.
From your Chili's crew.
Because they go
I can hear it.
happy birthday from your Chili's crew. Wish it was our birthday so we could party too. Hey!
Okay, and then we can do weekend plans.
Okay, weekend plans. Weekend plans.
plans.
Everyone's got
Everyone's
on weekend plans.
plans.
All right, so I know my wife will ask me a million questions about your weekend plans, Gavin, so
great.
make them good.
Okay, that's pressure. We're going to Evansville, Indiana later today. It's going to be an interesting one because we always go there and we always have a dog sitter for the dogs, so we can kind of like not have too much of a chaos at the house. 'Cause
Sure.
those two are nuts. They have a dog too. Jasper loves that dog though, so it's okay. But we are taking them this time because
You're taking them in the car?
Yeah, we were out of town last
Oh.
weekend, and then there's this weekend, and the next weekend we're gone for Haley's sister's wedding.
Okay.
So it's gonna be 3 weekends in a row
That's expensive.
for dog sitting, which is still cheaper than the whole kennel thing.
Yeah.
But it was funny because my wife, she's always the one that Venmos this girl, and holy smokes, we have given that girl some cash
Yeah,
over
it
the
sneaks
last
up
2
on
years.
you.
So
Yeah.
we kind of saw, we're like, can we bring them this time? Even though really it's going to be chaos.
How
and
long's
it's
your drive?
2 hours. It's,
Oh.
the drive's not.
That's not bad.
The drive's not the fear. For
Where are
me,
you
it's
staying?
the fact that at their house.
Oh, so you're good.
And
Okay.
so for me, though, we have this solution of putting our kids. I don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that. We put the dogs in our guest room, sleep well. That's not an option while we're
Yeah.
up there. So I'm going to have to, and it's a smaller beds. And Jasper's really annoying about like, I need to be in bed.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he's decently behaved overnight. Because I
Well,
really do.
you'll come back nice and relaxed.
Yeah. Again, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this week, getting to kind of relax at the end of our days in a hotel room and have some
Oh my
relaxing.
gosh.
So it's got me ready for this. And we're gonna go golfing. Haley's gonna get her nails done. We're gonna make some food. Simple, fun.
I think
weekend.
it's interesting for me when I'm gone for any length of time, like more than just like a day. Like I was gone for 4 days, and I come back, and my wife kind of wants to reconnect and like talk about everything, you know. And I have been solo with solitude and no questions, no one else's schedule, nothing to worry about, and I have to like reconnect. And like, cause like I was writing an email debating Israel versus Palestine with this guy who's completely on the opposite end of the spectrum from me. And he's like super like liberal and I'm conservative and we argue on email about stuff all the time. And so I'm in the middle
All the
of
time.
this. I know, too much. So I'm in the middle of this trying to get this done. And I want my thoughts to be clear. And then my wife is asking me a question about something that's not important for right then, but it was the most important thing to her at that moment,
which is fair.
And I'm like, okay, and I just close my computer. I'm like, okay, what? And she's like, no, it's fine. We don't need to talk about it. I'm like, no.
You've already shut the laptop.
I've stopped. So I'm like, okay, we got 2 choices here. You have my attention now. Like, I will listen to what you're saying. I can answer it now, or let me get back to this, and you'll have my attention in 10 minutes. Like, however you want to do it, but let's just tell me so that I can make you happy and do what I need to do.
Because it's like I care, but it's also
I can care in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I can care. You saw me typing.
Yeah.
You know. That's the thing, and as I get older, I have less tolerance for that too, and I have
this
to
is your
remember.
wife. This
I
is
know,
your wife too.
I know, and I have to remember that. Like for her, like for me, I just came home, but for her, she's like, I want to hear everything, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to talk about anything from that.
I mean, it's also part of the thing is that yes, I missed my wife for the last 3 days, but I am in an insane.
But I love my freedom.
Yeah,
No.
well, but we're in a great place. I'm not 16 or 17 years old anymore. Where like every second is.
I miss you. I love you. You hang up first.
Yeah, it's not all. It's not the. I was gonna say it's not the greatest thing. It is great, but it's not my end all be all from a minute to minute, day to day. Well, it is. I'm making marriage sound so.
You're making it sound horrible.
Yeah, but like I can exist without my wife.
Yeah, I
don't
can,
want to.
No, I choose not to. But on those few, but when I get that, not taste of freedom, when I get the like, I don't have to answer a lot of questions about things, because as soon as I come home, and rightfully so, my wife runs the house great.
Oh man, same.
And she keeps me in contact with my family, and so she's really great about. She needs answers to these questions, or hey, I need you to sign this card for Haley. You know, like, so she's so great about all that stuff. And so for me, it's like coming back and getting back into that pattern that goes from total selfishness to back to everything else.
To coexistence.
Yeah,
because it's easier to exist on my own than it is with another person.
More, yeah, and it's not personal. It's just easier.
Yeah.
More like rock people, like Christian artists, rock artists, whatever, have a struggle with this. And if you ask them, their wives run the show when they're gone, and they do such a good job of it. Then they come home, and they've been gone for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and they come home, and as guys, they want to run things, and it messes up their wife's flow, and then they end up fighting and stuff like that, and then it's kind of like, well, just get back on the road, you know. And I always hate that. I've had friends that are salespeople that's the same way. And I'm starting to understand a little bit more of it, because I never understood it before, but now I'm understanding it. When you are just doing it for yourself, you don't have to be concerned with anybody else. And that is because we're wired. I think a lot of us are wired that way, that you get to where, oh, I like this, you know, and then you're like, oh, now I have to take a back seat to what I want to do something for the team, in essence, you know. And so I think that's a difficult thing for artists and people that travel a lot to struggle through.
And we just went on a 3-day work trip.
I know, yeah.
This
This is like, yeah,
as
this
much
is not
as
a
we
big,
do.
weren't deployed in Iraq, you know. Like, I think I'm doing stuff with my mom this weekend. She's in town. We're trying to find some fun things to do. We're like cooking out tomorrow night. I'm gonna go foiling today if the weather gets a little better.
Should be.
And then but that church, and that's really it. I don't have any plans. Other than
we're about to enter the holidays here soon. We're almost done with October, so we're about to run into a lot more, I think, like life busyness.
Yeah.
But for now, I feel like we've got a calm weekend ahead of us.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's going to do it for your Aftercast. And as always, thanks for being a potty.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.